having trouble with that.
Go live.
What's on with it?
Yeah, it was all.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second episode of OCHS Live Sports Lounge. We're waiting on one more, so we're going to get started with Eli Lindsay.
That's not my name.
Elijah Hansford. Wrong one.
You don't want to be a Lindsay today?
He's going to be talking.
I'll pass.
He's going to be talking about the hockey because nobody else really knows anything about that.
Which is such a shame.
We can chime in a little bit.
I mean, I know some of the teams.
Such a shame.
All right, Eli, what do we got here? Vegas, the Knights up 2-0 on
Yep.
the Stars.
Just the Stars have played really sloppy hockey.
Yeah.
That's basically the story. And Vegas, of course, reigning Stanley Cup champions. Of course, they're not going to be an easy team to beat. Am I getting picked up properly?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
You're good.
Yeah,
I think the Knights, if you give them a chance, they've definitely got the capability to win some ball games. Which
for sure.
Not ball games, but yeah.
But there's a reason everyone hates the Golden Knights. It's because they abuse LTIR, long-term injured reserve. Because the way it works is there's any player that's put on LTIR, their cap space is null and void. So it's erased, and they can use that extra cap space to
bring somebody
apply.
else in.
Yes. And then when the playoffs start, the cap is no more. There's no cap in the playoffs.
So they just get everybody back.
Yeah. And conveniently, they just show up out of nowhere, ready for the playoffs. And this has happened consistently for the past few years now. But, it is what it is. Winnipeg, Colorado, that's been a very entertaining series thus far. You like to see Avalanche scoring goals frequently. Connor Hellebuck, Jets goaltender, kind of needs to pick it up a bit. Vancouver-Nashville has been an entertaining series as well. I know you guys don't care. I'm sorry.
I just have no idea what's going on.
I'm trying to rush through this because obviously this isn't going to be the main talking
You
point.
can take your time.
Take your time. You're doing good.
Vancouver, Nashville, tied at 1 apiece, going back to Nashville. It sucks that Vancouver's goaltender got injured, Thatcher Demko. But that's hockey for you. Edmonton, LA, I still think Edmonton should be able to secure this series. Shout out to Malachi and his Kings for actually getting a win on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. In overtime, but might be the only one they get.
So based off your previous predictions, you still looking good, looking strong for what
I
you
chose
expected?
Stars, who are obviously down 0-2 in the series. I chose Stars Hurricanes. So we'll see if the Stars can rebound. Jake Ottinger is a really good playoff goaltender there in Dallas, but we'll see.
All right, let's look at the opposite side, the East, I believe.
Yep. Florida, Tampa, Battle of Florida, if you will, has not been that great. They've had a couple close games, but really Florida is just a juggernaut right now. Pretty hard to stop, all things considered. Boston, Toronto, that series will go 7 games. I'd be surprised if it didn't go 7, but I am expecting Boston to take the series at the end of the day. New York, Washington, Capitals never really had a chance, and Ovechkin just looks like he's just playing lazy hockey right now. Go ahead and respond to that.
Carolina going to clean it. Carolina going to finish it off.
They should.
Panthers?
Last night, Islanders made a switch in net, and they benched the goaltender
Yeah.
pretty quickly in. But
All right. So, looks like hockey's going well. All right. and
that's
let's
fine.
Go to our next little thing we're going to talk about. A little MLB action. Fellas been following much of what's going on in baseball, or what are we thinking? Carson, you been seeing anything?
I think the Rays are somehow going to make what they always do, and I think they're going to finish in the playoffs, and they're going to win the first round, hopefully against the Rangers. That's just my prediction. I think the Rays are a mediocre team, but I feel like they'll find a way to sneak into the playoffs, and they always have these random pitchers that become absolute studs.
Come out of nowhere.
Yep.
I tell you, the two things that jump off right now, we talked last week that with the Yankees being in first place, no longer in first place, now the Orioles are. It's only a week, but still. And we see the Mariners coming back. They were not playing very good baseball early on, able to pick it up. It looks like the Rangers are kind of falling off a little bit there.
That whole division is just not playing up to par as of right now.
No, normally you're expecting more out of the Astros than 7-13 or wherever.
Astros have been unbelievably bad. Jose Abreu is batting like .50. He's batting terribly.
From the looks of things, that's probably what the Chicago White Sox team averages as well, only winning 3 games. That's not going really well for them. Hopefully they can get
They're the only one of 4
pretty sure
teams who haven't fired their manager by now. There's been like 3 or 4, 3 and 22 starts, and they're the only one who hasn't fired their manager.
I would say he's not long for being there. He's probably going to get his walking papers for too much.
You
longer,
know
unfortunately.
things are bad in South Side
Yeah.
when you're yearning for Tony La Russa again.
Come back. He's got to be 80 years old.
Oh
I
my
think he's
gosh.
like 80.
He was taking naps on
he's
the
like
field.
84.
You know what? He's been around to coach so many games. If he wants to take a nap, I don't think anybody's going to tell him that's not. He can't do that.
And I feel like if Minnesota stays healthy, I feel like them and the Royals will be the two that were neck and neck. I feel like the Guardians losing Bieber is going to really kill them.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was out. That's probably the ace of their staff, and that's going to be a big hit,
They'll probably start slowing down.
losing that aspect of it. See if the Royals can get going again.
Onto the NL.
Yeah, flipping over to the National League
Oh,
and see what's
God.
going on. Got them the Braves. Nobody likes the Braves.
Boo.
Okay?
Is this as of this morning or
This
yesterday?
is as of this morning. I took this one. So your Pirates are coming back to earth. Looks like a little bit.
Shocker! Never saw that one coming.
Phew.
Looks like the Reds are falling right into place. The Cardinals surprised me, but I think they've been down the last couple seasons. They haven't been what they were previously.
It's their pitching.
Just no, they don't have it anymore.
No, their pitchers were old last year, and they traded quite a few away, such as Jordan Montgomery, for example.
The days of Wainwright and all those guys are
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
are long gone.
yeah, and their pitching just isn't good anymore.
What do we got going on out west? The Dodgers are still playing good ball. Padres are right there.
Nobody was going to beat the Dodgers. You say that every year, and then they choke in the first round of the playoffs. But this team this year, if they stay healthy, this team is different.
I think they've got all the pieces you could ever want. I don't think they're not wanting for anything out there.
Their rotation 1 through 5 is probably one of the best ones we've ever seen. And Glasnow's pitching like a Cy Young. And then the one they just brung overseas, he's pitching. He's been struggled at first, and now he's figuring it back out.
The new guy.
It's going to be scary.
And once they get that all going in the right direction, it's going to be very, very interesting to see if they can go. And like you said, I think they're going to make the playoffs, but can they get out of the first round?
Yeah.
And that's been their knock, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
hope not.
For at least, the last year or two, that's been their knock. They can't get out of it because they've had teams that were more than capable.
Unbelievable.
Darn, such a shame. Such a shame.
I think I saw a stat the other day. Trout and Marcelo Zuna were tied for league leading home runs. Trout had 13 RBIs, and Marcelo Zuna had 27.
Yeah.
It's so
Nobody's getting on it.
Nobody's helping Trout.
He's just
Doing it himself.
yeah. And I don't think they don't have a lot out there. So
Speaking of RBIs and whatnot, you know who leads the American League in RBIs? I was actually really surprised when I saw this.
I do not. Who you got for us?
Salvador Perez,
really
Royals catcher,
I heard
with
his name.
25.
He's up there in home runs too, if I'm not mistaken.
He might be. I haven't seen that, but I did see he was leading the AL in RBIs as of right now.
He's always been able to hit. He's just not. He's just getting old and he's losing his ability behind the plate. But if he can hit, then
I've always
all
been a
matters.
big fan of Salvador Perez.
I figured that MJ Melendez would go. They switched him to outfield before the year, but I figured he would stay behind the plate and let Salvi just be everyday DH.
I was more surprised that it wasn't Bobby Witt leading the Royals in RBIs, much less Salvador Perez leading the AL.
Yeah, that is a surprise. So good for him. I mean, good to see that he's swinging the bat well and coming around. So hopefully they can maintain it. They're definitely going to need him and Bobby Witt if they want to make a run at anything.
Yep.
Bobby Witt is a good catalyst and a good young guy, but you're going to need some veteran presence. And like you said, with Perez putting that much power in those RBIs, they're going to need that later in the year to keep that momentum going. All right, fellas. Playoffs, NBA, any thoughts?
Go Pacers.
Go Pacers?
That's all I got.
The Pelicans without Zion
Not the same score.
are
No Zion, no winning.
absolutely
Not at all.
terrible.
Just not the same squad at all. And we talked about this. We said McCollum needed to be just lights out.
The Lakers got a terrible.
Yeah, they're down 3.
Yeah, that's not a very good draw. I feel like they have a way better matchup against the Thunder.
Did you see D'Lo?
D'Lo, no.
Yesterday he was 27 minutes, 0 points, and he wouldn't even get in the huddle. He got on his phone on the bench.
Yeah, that's probably going to get you fined, and I might get you a pink slip when you get
Yeah.
back to the.
But the T-Wolves are playing some stellar basketball right now. The T-Wolves look fabulous. Ant Edwards is playing good, and they have the number 1 defense in all of basketball.
So they're, 2-0 versus the Suns?
Yeah, Suns can't get nothing right.
They were talking about starting Isaiah Thomas and benching Beal because super teams just don't work anymore with 3 stars. They've tried it, and it's just not going to work.
It's too much.
I think the last one that worked was Miami Heat with Braun, Wade, and Bosh.
Yep.
Yeah,
But I don't even know if you can consider. Bosh is. He was such a defensive player, and he could stretch the floor as a 4 or 5.
Yep.
But nowadays, you just see him bring in with the Suns. They got Durant doesn't play much defense, and they got 2 shooting guards. They don't have a point guard. They struggle. The best years that Durant had were with Westbrook and Curry when he had a point guard.
yeah.
Beal was with John Wall, and Booker. He's just not a point guard, and they got him running the 1. So he's really struggling. They're really struggling for a point guard right now.
So all good players on other teams, just not together.
Just they don't have that one guy who can bring them all together. If they had like a guy like Rondo or like a player like Rondo who dishes the ball out insanely well, or even a guy like T.J. McConnell, like
And I think
some mid guy.
I think that's what you need. You talk about having those, those big threes that we saw several years ago. They had, basically the one guy was the point guard. He's the one that's dishing it out and making sure that everybody's getting their fair share and getting involved. And if you don't have that, it does create a bit of a dilemma. Because if you have, like we talked about, there's 5 dudes on the court. If you got 3 stars and then just this dude playing point guard, I don't know how well that's going to work out for you.
What about
team players?
Did y'all see the score of the Magic game last night?
I saw
They
it was bad. I know it
obliterated
was
the
bad. Like 45
Cavaliers.
points, something like that.
They were up 96-31 or 96-61. My bad. Going into the third quarter.
There ain't no coming back from that one.
Yeah, it's
Not a good day.
Look, I obviously don't know a ton about basketball, but I know enough to know you don't bet against guys such as Nikola Jokic or any person like that. And even Jason Tatum on the Celtics, right? You don't bet against players like that.
Is your MVP Luka or Jokic?
I don't know.
It's got to be Luka.
So NBA, we talked about that. One thing that came up in sports that I saw, 2 things. They're actually from golf, so we might be able to piggyback on you for this one.
All right.
The what was it, 15 made the Open and qualified in the 20.
Oh,
squad?
Miles Russell.
Yeah, how about that? He's only 15?
Yeah, he's the youngest player to ever make the Korn Ferry Tour cut, which is like
At
the
15 years
AAA
old?
or AA to the baseball. That's what it's compared to.
Kind of like AAA.
Yeah,
level,
it's a
something like
minor
that.
league.
At 15
almost.
years old?
15 years old.
Dang,
so
he's
he's a
accomplished
freshman in
more
high
in
school
his
out here
short life
making
than I
pro
ever will.
cuts.
Yeah, that kid's probably done more than
Unreal.
some of us will get done in our lives.
He's insane.
The other one I saw was Tiger Woods' son took a shot at one of the Opens.
He's
Yes,
not
player?
that good. He's a great player.
Yeah.
It's coming up. He's a great player, but he ain't nearly as good as Tiger was at that age. He ain't nearly as good as Miles Russell. He won't make it. He'll miss it by 5 or 6 shots, and he won't even be close.
Where's the Miles cat? Where's he from?
California, I think he's somewhere warm.
Yeah, I did see that the open or the can't think of the word, but whatever Charlie Wood is.
US
Charlie Wood is
Open
competing
qualifier?
in. Yeah, I heard that only 5 people get accepted or like
Yeah.
make it. to
So,
the next round.
the way it
Off of,
works
like,
is-
60 of them, I think.
Yeah, the way it works is they hold about 5 or 6 all around the world, and they play events, and if you win your event, you move on, and then if you win that next event, you get a spot in the U.S. Open. I think they take 2 or 3. They don't take a lot at all, but if you'll remember Michael Block from last year, Joel Damon, my fault. Joel Damon didn't think he was going to make the cut if you ever watched Full Swing. Didn't think he was going to make the cut, slammed some beers at the turn, made the cut, and then he actually ended up finishing pretty well at the Open.
So there have been some guys that have made this jump and kind of going through that same process the young guys got a chance of going through. All right, and then the last thing, and probably the bulk of our conversation for today, talking about the first round of the draft.
Hey, how about the Browns' first round
How
pick?
about the Browns' first round
Yeah.
pick?
Best one you could get.
Hey, they didn't mess it up, so that's a good thing for Brownie Nation. They didn't.
Hey, we ain't gonna have no bust.
The ones that jump out, me and Colby already talked about this a little bit. If you watch the draft, they were definitely talking about the Michael Penix pick and the Brock Bowers pick at 13.
Yep.
So we'll work our way through, and then we'll kind of touch base on the Penix.
Well, first, let's talk about our own teams.
Anybody surprised about the first 3 picks?
No.
Negatory.
I thought you were surprised.
I don't expect Caleb Williams to be great. I mean, I don't feel like he's a very good locker room guy from what I've heard.
Yeah.
I think it could cause some controversy.
It'll be interesting. Do we think Jaden Daniels is going to pan out?
No.
Not in Washington.
Not in
I
Washington.
don't think so.
Not with that team.
Look, I'll say
I
this.
don't think he has the support.
Look, I'll say this. He has receivers. That much is true. But with that being said, he is a better runner than Drake May. Drake May have a better arm, but Jaden Daniels is a better runner.
Yes.
Which is good because he's going to need it behind that offensive
I know.
line.
I feel like Drake May is legit the same thing as when Buffalo picked Josh Allen.
Similar.
He could go out there and stink it up.
Except
For the first
Drake,
couple years.
Drake May, I think, is less mobile than Josh Allen.
He's big, and
He's big,
he
but I
makes
do
better
think
off.
he's less
He's
mobile.
probably already a better off-platform thrower than Allen. Some of his clips from North Carolina, that offensive line was buns, terrible. He ran around everywhere and made jump throws like he was Derek Jeter. He would throw anything though. That's his problem. He thinks he can make every throw, so he throws every throw, and that could lead into a lot of trouble.
I mean, confidence
At
is always
North
a good
Carolina.
thing to have.
It'll take
It's
some learning for
overconfidence
sure.
that'll kill you.
Just not too much.
Yeah, it'll be a learning curve.
We'll see. Hopefully it'll pan out for him. He's definitely going to get the shot to go in there and play right away. He can't be any worse, no offense, than what was the guy from Alabama they had.
Sam Howell?
No, that Patriots had.
Oh, Mac Jones.
Mac Jones.
Yeah, no offense to Mac Jones, but I don't know if he could be
Worse than that.
Yeah, Mac kind of tanked there towards the end.
Yep.
Started off good. The other one, Marvin Harrison going to the Cardinals. I think that's a pedigree kind of scenario. They were looking for a
Yep.
receiver. I know they talked about maybe taking Malik Neighbors because he was more athletic. I think the Cardinals were looking at pedigree.
Yep.
This dude knows what it is and know what it's going to take.
I think the Chargers taking Joe Alt is interesting. I don't think it's a bad move, don't get me wrong. But my thing is that, are you really going to rely on Quentin Dropston and Josh Palmy as your wide receivers 1 and 2? Again, I don't think Joe Alt is bad. It's just that you already have Rashawn Slater, so you're going to have to move him to the right side.
I think they're hoping A.D. Mitchell falls to him in the second round.
I think the Bills are going to take him with the first pick today.
Yeah.
The Bills are legit trying to not win. You
Now,
cannot
hold on.
convince me they
Hold
are
on,
not.
hold on.
Pick
I'm-
28.
I'm actually going to defend the Bills here. They probably wanted Brian Thomas Jr., but then they saw the Jaguars take him, and they were like, oh, crap, we can't have him anymore. Let's rethink this. Trade back, get the first pick tomorrow, and then we'll know what to do.
It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Xavier Worthy is the perfect thing Josh Allen doesn't have.
Ooh, that boy can fly.
Speed.
Diggs was their deep threat, and they traded Diggs away.
Ain't got it no more.
Again,
go
And
to
now they
replacement.
have no Gabe Davis,
I understand.
no deep threat,
I
and Allen likes to chuck it.
understand the frustration of giving Xavier Worthy to another wide receiver needing team in the AFC to the team that's been your boogeyman. Right. I understand that completely. But I also don't think it was necessarily a terrible move on the Bills' behalf, if that makes sense.
We'll see. I'm going back to the Chargers pick. It's not a pretty or a flashy pick, but if you think about who the head coach is, and
Harbaugh.
Yeah,
Harbaugh.
If you- sorry, my mind went blank.
Jim
If
Harbaugh.
you think about Harbaugh and what he wants to do and what he's looking for,
Pound that football.
yeah, that's
He wants to run the
That's the
football.
perfect pick.
There's a reason he signed
That's got his name all
2
over
Raven
it.
running backs.
He's building his team how
Yeah.
he wants it.
That's got his name all over.
But I think the biggest winners got to be the Bears. Adunze falling to you at 9, absolute steal.
That
Unbelievable.
That's going to make their offense very.
If we're going to talk
formidable.
about biggest winners, Why aren't we talking about the Eagles?
We haven't made it that far yet, but we will.
What
The
about-
Eagles are not winners.
What about the Giants?
Terrible pick.
Keeping
Awful.
Daniel Jones?
Hold on now. Let's talk about the number 8. Well, that's one thing.
Are we talking about winners and losers?
Keeping Daniel Jones and giving him Malik Neighbors. I think that's the right thing.
Yes.
Jones can play. You're giving him one more chance. You know, the 8 pick with Penix, I think, is the one that has a lot of people kind of scratching their head trying to figure out
I understand.
what's going on.
At least you're only scratching head there, McCarthy. No hair.
Yeah, there ain't no hair up there for me, but
I understand Kirk's old, just came off a season-ending injury. I mean, that's gonna.
So did
that's
Penix.
That's gonna hurt bad. I mean,
That's-
but he's also a lot older. I mean,
four times Penix got career-ending injuries.
That's the thing. Penix is he's already 24, and McCarthy's sitting in there at 21. I don't see why you don't take McCarthy, who honestly would fit that scheme. I guess it's going to be a different scheme coming out. We don't know what's going to happen.
Maybe.
But McCarthy is 21 years. He's going to be 21 years old. You sit him for 2 years. You have if Kirk doesn't want to play, he can come in and he knows what to do. He can progress through his I can't think of the word.
Yes, progressions.
Yes.
Yeah, get better.
But Penix is going to be 26, 27 for the time he starts. He's had 2 career-ending injuries at Indiana,
Yeah, I don't know about
and he
I don't know
hasn't
about
shown
that
up.
pick. I do like the Bears getting Roma Dunze and Caleb Williams. I think that's going to be a good fit for them.
Well, now the Bears are going to give up 50 points a game.
So
Yeah.
they're going to need to score 51.
They did have the best defense in the last 9 weeks in the NFL, though.
Yeah,
True.
The Vikings needed a quarterback. I don't know if they needed to make that trade with the Jets. I think that was kind of a.
No,
irrelevant.
I think they did need to make that trade.
You think the Jets would have taken McCarthy? At 10?
No, I don't think the Jets would have, but the Broncos might have.
Well,
But
The
they had
Broncos
the-
might have swooped
they
in
had
and
the
taken
11,
him.
right?
yeah. So the way it was, the Jets had the 10, the Vikings had the 11.
Yep.
Hmm.
So
You're
unless
saying-
they were afraid somebody was going to jump into that 10 spot,
That's
I think they were afraid the
Thinking that.
Broncos
Coulda took it.
Broncos might have jumped up.
That makes sense because I'm trying to figure out like what was the one spot jump?
Yeah.
What are you trying to get? And from that aspect, you know what you're saying with his age. I think McCarthy's the better pick over Nix, who's also old and been around for a little bit.
Yeah, he's
I
like
don't think-
26.
I don't know what the Broncos are doing. I don't think you have to take quarterback in the spot they are in because they're not in a win-now spot.
Well, here's the
They
thing.
don't need to. And
Bo Nix probably wasn't going to go to the first round
you could have
unless
traded down.
unless the Raiders were going to take him. That's
And-
the only other team that would even consider taking a quarterback in the first round right now.
But if Brock Bowers is still on the
But you
board,
can always trade down and get him in the second.
I don't know
I would
why
for
the
sure
Jets
took
didn't
Brock
take Bowers. The Jets had Bowers lined up perfectly.
They needed to take a line.
You can trade for something when you have that much money. You can find a way to
Look,
get a trade for a tackle.
I'll tell you exactly why the Jets took Fashanu. They took Fashanu because last year they missed out on all of the top offensive line prospects. They missed out on Broderick Jones, and then a few other guys.
All of them.
Mhm.
Yeah, they missed out on all of them because the Steelers traded up in front of them. They needed to make sure that didn't happen this year. And that's why that pick was made. They needed to protect Aaron Rodgers. And plus, you saw what happened last year with Rodgers.
From what I saw on film, I'd have taken that Taliesin Fuaga.
Oh my
The kid
gosh.
from Oregon, I'd have taken him. I don't know a lot about Fashanu. Hopefully he's going to be great. But that Fuaga kid, I've seen him. He's big.
The guy the Steelers took scares me, dude. The way he talks about playing football,
Which one is he?
We'll get
Choi
to,
Fatanu.
we'll get to that one here in a
He's
bit.
from Washington too, isn't he? Or
No,
where-
he's
Yes,
from.
he's from
oh, He's
Washington.
from Washington.
Was he at UW?
I have
Is
a
he
lot
from
to say
Utah?
about
Is he
him.
from Hawaii?
I have no idea.
He's a big Polynesian cat. We'll get there in a second.
Brock Bowers, first off,
I
why?
don't know about
Why?
that pick.
They already have Michael Mayer. Are
Doesn't
they
matter.
really
Brock
gonna run a
Bowers can
two-tight-end
play
system?
anywhere. Brock Bowers is insanely good.
So here's the
I
thing.
agree,
I
but they have Michael Mayer.
I don't know where you're
So
gonna,
are they gonna
I don't know where you're going to put him.
make a 2 tight end system?
First, I gotta figure out if who's starting. Is it Minshew? Is Minshew a Raider now?
Minshew is a Raider, yes.
It was like it got to their turn. They were like, "Oh, it's our turn to make a pick." Let's just. I mean, they took probably
That-
the
look,
best
I'm
dude
never-
available, but
I was gonna say I'm never gonna be
Is that
mad
what they
about
needed?
taking the best player available, but it's just not a need. It's not a need.
If
I don't know about.
at number 15,
I like
if
Latu.
Latu stays healthy, he will win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Also, what a name, Laiatu Latu.
I would
It's a
agree.
heck of a name.
If he's healthy, he's your defensive.
If he doesn't have them neck injuries, he's probably a top 5 pick. He is that good, but everyone's so scared because he about ended his career at LSU because he just about medically retired.
Murphy's really jumped up.
So I want the
board.
Bengals to get.
He's a little undersized, but he's jumped up the board. Dallas Turner's the big edge kid from Alabama.
Everyone expected him to go to
Yeah.
the Falcons at 8.
They were talking like he was a top 10 pick. And even the announcers talking about the Falcons haven't had a 2-sack guy or a guy with double-digit sacks since Beasley, like 10 years ago.
Whew.
Oh, Vic Beasley.
And Turner's that kind of dude.
Yep.
So, again, the Falcons pick I'm not sure about. The Bengals pick up Mims. He hasn't allowed a sack, I guess, his whole college career.
But he
Almost.
hasn't played.
He only had 8 games.
Only started 8 games, so that makes it a little.
That
It's-
doesn't mean he's only played 8 games, though.
He's played what 1,000 snaps in his whole career.
Where's he from? Mims?
Georgia.
Georgia.
But I like what the Bengals are doing. They have 3 offensive linemen above 6'8" right now. And the center's 6'4", and Cordell Volson's 6'2". They are just building an absolute wall
As long as they can
for Joe Burrow. I trust Trent Brown to be able to move. Orlando Brown Jr. played excellent last year. If
Mims is supposed to be athletic too.
Mims is high risk but insanely high reward. He is a freak of nature. We'll probably move I think we'll move him to guard because we'll either move him or Brown to guard.
And that-
It's hard to say.
What you just said is my argument of why you don't take, like the Steelers did, Fatanu, who is a natural guard and does want to just.
That's why he wanted. That's who I wanted.
Yeah, you know, do you need another lineman, or do you want to take someone that wants to just maul people and hurt people?
I wanted
Look,
the
at
mauler.
the end of the day, it
Yeah.
fills a need for the Bungles,
It does.
regardless of how you look at it,
Yeah.
which is always a good thing.
And he's so big and athletic, he can pretty much play anywhere on the line he wants to.
Yep. That's not a bad
We'll
pick.
see.
I thought, ironically enough, in my only mock draft, I had Mims and Verse flipped. I thought Mims was going to go to the Rams and Verse was going to go to the
I think
Bungles.
Verse might have found a great home in L.A. I mean, he's very similar.
He's a beast.
They needed to find a replacement for Aaron Donald.
And I don't
Now,
think anybody's gonna
obviously,
replace him, but
yes.
he's good and he's going to fit in. You got some other young dudes with the Rams that can get after it on that interior line. So he's
Of course, Kobe Turner's there.
Yeah.
He had a good rookie
He's gonna
season
fit
last
there.
year.
Fatanu is just a mauler and going to hurt people.
I have a lot to say about him.
Well, go ahead.
I'm
Here's
gonna-
your
I'm
few
gonna-
minutes.
I'm going to try and condense it, though.
Make it quick.
First off, before anything else, this is not the first time the Steelers have drafted in the first round a guy named Troy with a Samoan last
There you
name.
go. That worked out very well for him. Last
Sure
time.
did. Secondly, he's a bit undersized at 6'4", but that's nothing that a year in the weight room can't fix.
Oh, okay.
And in that regard, I think he will play right tackle because you already have Broderick Jones, you have Sumalo over on left guard. That side of the line was fine last year. And Fatanu, he's a very physical specimen. He's not afraid to go after the guy, right? He will make something happen, regardless of how you look at it.
It'll be interesting. Hopefully, it'll work out for them. They can figure it out.
Another thing I like about him on film is that he's always moving his feet. I like that a lot about him.
Very nimble.
Let's see what else we got here. Chop Robinson going to the Dolphins. I think that
It's a
was
stretch.
yeah.
The Dolphins definitely needed an edge rusher,
could've
especially
traded
after
down.
seeing all the injuries they had last year.
Quinion Mitchell. That's the corner from
Toledo.
He's supposed to be the real deal.
It's weird. He's playing at Toledo, not playing against a bunch of excellent receivers. He played a lot of off coverage. It's gonna be.
It'll be interesting to see if he can
Yeah.
make that change. They said he did well. I was watching ESPN College Game Day. They had Saban on there, and even Saban was remarking of how good this kid was as a corner. So I think when you can get to that level, you're doing something pretty good. Brian Thomas Jr.
Excellent pick.
Just rolling through.
They even traded down.
Terry and Arnold, Jordan Morgan. Some of these guys I don't know a whole lot just by name.
Terry and Arnold, Lions traded up for him. Fills a need, especially after the Cameron Sutton news. Let's not get too into that, though.
Well, he won't be playing.
So
Yeah,
where
no.
where we were, Xavier Worthy can just flat out fly.
Oh gosh.
So I
Yep.
think that's going to be interesting if they're going to try and put him into that Tyreek Hill mold. Some of those plays that they kind of had for him, screens and things.
I think we all know what happened last time the Chiefs got a twitchy wide receiver that Hadn't had a lot of playing time.
He can do some things.
Tony didn't pan out.
Guyton, Wiggins, unfortunately, I don't know too much about either one of those guys. I do know Ricky Pearsall. That boy has some hands on him.
Oh yeah, from Florida.
And
Now,
he
I
can
will
catch.
say this. I find the pick of wide receiver very interesting.
For the 49ers?
Yes.
That means Ayuk's gone.
Ayuk or
Yeah.
Debo,
And that's
one or
David
the
One of
other.
them.
That's what the write-up
It
was
means
talking about.
that there's probably at least a little truth to the Ayuk and Debo rumors.
I think
Which is, so that's something to keep in mind.
I think 26 is probably one of the best picks of the draft so far. I think Graham Barton out of Duke, great center. I think he's fabulous.
I thought that's who the Packers were going to take. Instead, they ended up reaching for a tackle.
I think
It's a reach.
the
anyways.
Packers are scary. I think they develop anybody and everybody somehow, some way.
Yeah.
They're good.
Now, tackle does fill a need for the Packers after losing Bakhtiari.
That's a big hit. I mean, he's been there for forever and a day.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how he goes. And like you said, Graham Barton, the center from Duke, on there. I think that's a big help for Baker Mayfield. And he had a really good year last year. You paid that man a lot of money. Give him someone that he's going to be comfortable with.
Who'd they bring in to coach? Because I know they lost their.
They lost their OC.
I'm
Todd
not-
Bowles is
Oh
still
yeah,
there.
my bad.
I'm not 100%.
He was
Todd
a
Bowles
Panthers
is
head
still
coach.
there.
So round one ended last night. Got rounds, 2 and 3 tonight? if I'm
Yep,
not
2 and
mistaken?
3 starts at 7.
2 and 3, and then
Please sponsor us, NFL.
4, 5, and 6 on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep,
Let's
4, 5, 6, 7
let's
on Saturday.
let me pull up something else here real quick while we're talking.
I would like to see the Steelers.
Kind of talk about who. I gotta look this one up to see.
Oh, no Cooper DeJean pick last night. I forgot all
So
about
talking
that.
about some guys that are still on the board. Cooper DeJean from Iowa, however you pronounce his name, I apologize. Tremendous athlete. Interesting enough, the Great White Hype, a Caucasian kid that plays corner, going to make it into the NFL. So that'll be he'll be a unicorn from that aspect.
He'll probably move to safety
And they say
wherever
he's a
he's
hell of a
drafted.
return guy.
Oh my gosh. But I think the 2 picks that will decide winners and or the 3 picks are 3 through 5. So Kool-Aid McKinstry, great DB out of Bama.
He's going to contribute wherever he goes.
Yep.
Yes. Adonai Mitchell I think he's better than Xavier Worthy. I think Xavier Worthy is just speed, and he can catch out of his frame a little bit.
John Ross 2.0, you think?
I almost want to believe. Don't bring it up.
Yeah,
Adonai
bad.
Mitchell is a beast. And I think if you were to stick Ladd McConkney on a team like with a coordinator like Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins or stick him with the 49ers, I think he could be a stud. Twitchy slot receiver, catches every ball thrown near him. He'll be a stud.
All right, is there anything in particular we want to see our teams do with their picks today?
I wish we could get that guy.
I like this kid, Braden Fiskey. I mean, that kid plays hard. You got a kid that came out of the MAC conference. Was it Western Michigan, I believe? Transferred from Western Michigan. Yeah, was there.
Crazy 40-yard too.
Goes down to Florida State and just tears it up.
He may be a bit undersized,
He is a little bit. Doesn't quite have that prototypical.
but
body
again,
frame.
that's nothing
But he
that
can move.
you're in the weight room
Yeah,
can't fix.
292, and he ran a 4.7 40.
He can
That's
move.
insane.
Scroll down a little bit.
We're looking through our list here. Nobody else for me really just jumps off as a name I've heard over and over and over and over.
Two things I would like to say is Peyton Wilson out of NC State. He can flat out play. He is a good ball player.
Oh, I have heard them mention him. I think he was around the board on every tackle.
Had a combine though, which kind of hurt him. And he another guy, the fall off of Keon Coleman. That man was supposed to be the second, one of the top 4 or 5 picks, or not picks,
Go up.
wide receivers. And he is just completely fallen off. He may not even get taken in the top 15 picks the second round.
Now, they had some big bodies down there at Florida State. Did the other cat come out, the one that's like 6'8" or whatever?
I don't know.
What is his name? Florida State had like a basketball squad of receivers, and Coleman was one of them. And the other kid came out too, I thought. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to do some research. But he's going to be a big target for somebody.
I'll say this: Steelers pick at 51 today. I would like to see, depending on what's available, I would like to see a cornerback of sorts.
Let's see what's left here.
I'd like to see a cornerback of sorts. I wouldn't be mad at a receiver. Would like to see a center at some point soon. At some point today, preferably, because they still do not have a center on their roster.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to go cornerback with 51, and then they'll go probably receiver, and then interior defensive lineman.
I
Their
think
2/3, if I had to take a guess.
quarterback is probably the most interesting.
What's left?
Yes. What's Joe
Bills
Milton
take
gonna
Spencer Rattler.
be? Milton has the best arm,
Milton-
maybe in NFL already.
Milton has a cannon of what's left. A Rattler is up and down. You don't know what you're going to get.
Devin Leary should be all the way at the bottom.
Jordan Travis is a tremendous
God.
athlete, but where he got hurt at
Slovis.
Florida State.
I hate him so much.
Slovis was up and down and has been at 7 schools in 5 years.
Well, I know
Pratt.
Slovis very well because my brother went to Pitt. And
I mean,
he was not good when he was there, I'll tell you that.
He was at Pitt. He was great at USC for like a flash in the pan. But
Michael Pratt coming out of Tulane. He led Tulane to a top 20 team,
got hurt and missed the end of the season.
but he can flat out play.
He's hurt, and so is Travis. The interesting one you see there, at least to me, is Sam Hartman coming out of Notre Dame. Set all those records at Wake Forest, went to Notre Dame, had a great career. I think he might be okay for someone because he's older and mature.
Yeah.
And I think you can bring him in. He's going to be all right. John Reese Plumlee out of UCF is a tremendous athlete. I don't know if he's going to stick at the quarterback position. And Jason Bean out of Kansas. I don't know if you guys know him or not, but he's a tremendous athlete too. I don't know if he's going to stick around.
I don't think he's big
quarterback.
enough.
I don't think he'll stick there.
No running backs being taken
No,
is
that
quite interesting.
That's a big change from what it
It's a
has
big.
been.
It's not a very good running back class, but I think this may be the year that people realize that running back you can get in the second or third round for just as good as you can in the first round.
The need of running backs is also starting to decrease with a lot of teams. They're not.
And they're going more toward
running backs are hardly getting paid.
It's
nowadays.
more so a running back by committee
Yeah.
sort of
Yep.
deal
That's
now,
what's
instead
going
of
to.
just having one power rusher like,
Got
say,
3 or
Jerome
4.
Bettis back in the day.
Got
It's not,
3 or
it's not
4
the
running
bell
backs.
cow that it
Yeah.
was. Now
Yep.
it's multiples. With that being said, the one that I think is going to be interesting if he gets a shot is going to be Bucky Irving out of Oregon. He is really small, but he is electric and can run. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work out.
I think my favorite is probably Will Shipley out of Clemson.
He can play. I like
Oh,
him.
I love watching him
He's
play.
hard nosed, man.
He is awesome.
He'll give you everything he's got. You're not going to have to question that. From him.
Colby, what about Ray Davis? What do we think about Ray Davis?
I mean,
Has a chance?
he's a power. I mean, if someone picks him up, I mean, I think he's got a.
think
Especially with
Mitchell goes
with
number
how
one
the
today.
running back is now, I think he's got a good chance to be a good 3 or 4 running back. I think.
Oh, yeah. Johnny Wilson's the kid I was thinking of from Florida
6'6".
State. 6'6", 231. That's a heck of a target. If he can run and
big
do
dude.
what he can, I mean, he's going to give somebody a big target to hit.
I think.
Curious to see where he ends up at.
I scroll up a little bit. I think that guy. No, up.
Luke McCaffrey will be interesting.
I think that guy, Roman Wilson, out of Michigan, had a great Senior Bowl. He was running some really flat-out stellar routes. I think some team could draft him and throw him in the slot and be okay with it.
Tight ends left over. Don't really see any names.
Anyone out of Iowa. If there's an Iowa tight end, he's probably a stud.
Take him and see what he can do. Look at that. No fullbacks.
Oh, that's a
Oh.
shame.
All the tackles are off the board.
At least all the notable
At
ones.
least the names we know. Not a lot of guards left.
Powers Johnson is who I'd like to see the Steelers
Powers
take the
Johnson still on
center.
the board.
Inside guy.
Yep, he's still on the board.
You expecting the Bengals to pick any D tackles up or anything? Carson?
I would.
I don't think
Due to that
I don't
trade?
think that it's deep enough for them to. I think
Maybe in like the 5th round.
I think they honestly could trade back. Just see what if it falls to them. I think they could trade back.
All right.
It'll be interesting. There's holes to be filled
Yep.
all across the board.
Bengals don't ever trade anything though. They are
Never hold
These-
on to it.
They don't
so
move a lot.
frustrating. Should have traded for Jefferson.
Speaking of the Bengals, is Hendrickson going to play or is he?
Well,
Gonna
this
sit
was the
out?
thing. He
Look, I'll say this about it. You mind?
No,
go ahead. You got it.
Look, them not taking an edge, I think, says a lot about Trey Hendrickson's future. If they had taken an edge, then maybe it'd be a bit 50-50.
Wassier. Yeah.
So the thing that makes zero sense to me, and it just makes me so mad, Hendrickson agent is an idiot. You cannot get extended You have to wait 12 months after you get extended to get another extension.
Another one.
It's been 10 months since he got extended, so we physically cannot extend Hendrickson right now. And Hendrickson is probably our best rusher, and if we don't have Hendrickson, we will get thrown all over. Because our system runs around sending schemey blitzes and getting to the quarterback and not giving him enough time.
Especially because the rest of your division is kind of starting to build up their offensive line now.
And
the
running
Steelers are getting better. The Browns' offensive line is
running
good.
about, and
Ravens is good.
we are deep at safety. We have Dax Hill, Jordan Battle, Geno Stone, and we just brung back Von Bell. We have 4 safeties that can play, and they all fit in that Anarumo scheme. And I don't care who we have on defense, honestly. Lou Anarumo is the best defensive coordinator in football. That man can flat out coach. He knows how to scheme pressure. He knows how to get the most out of every player. And if you were to tell me that I wasn't a fan of Cam Taylor-Britt at 41 last year, 2 years ago, out of Nebraska. I didn't like him. I didn't think he fit our scheme. We stuck him outside and let him play ball, and he has been flat out locked down. I think this year he makes a big jump and becomes a top 10 corner. And that's no bias for me. That's just saying I think he's.
I mean,
that
he had a
good.
good year
I
last
agree.
year.
I mean, he was tough last year. I think he'll be good.
All right, well, we're getting close to the end of our
Yeah.
show, and I do want to say one thing.
How about
I'm
that?
going to heavily regret saying this,
Uh-oh.
but J.J. McCarthy will be the best QB in the draft class
like
when
it.
all is said and done. That is my
I
hot
can
take
go
for
with
the
that.
day.
What's your take? Who's going to be the best out of the first round?
the best player or best quarterback?
Best quarterback. Who's
Caleb Williams is Miles. If Drake May pans out, Drake May will be Miles better. If Caleb Williams is probably the best though, as of now.
He's got a lot of talent around him. I think Jaden Daniels might have the skill set better than any of them, but I just don't know if he has.
That's who I'm gonna go with, Jaden Daniels.
I don't know if he has the talent around him.
Shot in the dark.
And I think it's that because of his talent. His ceiling is so high.
Yep.
If he can figure it out, someone loosely said he might be Lamar Jackson 2.0. At the rate he can run,
He just needs
And
tools.
the
Tools with him.
yeah.
I am mainly going with J.J. McCarthy, mainly because of the system he's in. He's in a really good spot. I would not have said McCarthy being the best if he went to, say, the Giants or something.
and one
I
more
think-
thing.
I don't think McCarthy's going to have a lot of pressure on him because he's got Justin Jefferson. You got a good offensive line.
Jordan Addison,
You got a good running back.
T.J.
Just
Hawkinson, if
don't
things
mess
get
up, man.
tough.
Don't mess up. Don't do turnovers. It'll take care of itself.
And one more thing for the
Go
bell
ahead.
rings is next year's quarterback class is awful. Carson Beck is going to be the best quarterback, and everyone's taking their quarterbacks now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah,
thank
he's
you.
terrible.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again next week for the OCHS Sports Lounge.
Go Browns.
Shut up.
Heck no.